Grandma actually needs you right now. Honey. So please. She is not at all feeling good. I now realize that my mother's voice was filled with phony worry as it crackled across the phone. As I sat in my Indianapolis apartment, surrounded by the bags I had brought for our large family vacation, my enthusiasm soon turned to anxiety. I'll stay. Of course, I said without hesitation. The cruise is irrelevant if Grandma needs assistance. Hours later, those words would haunt me again. I am Tara Smith, and I am 28 years old. Throughout my life, I have made an effort to be the trustworthy and responsible daughter. But I had no idea how that commitment to family would be tested. This cruise was something I had been anticipating for months. Along with my parents, younger sister Emma, and a few other family members. It was intended to be our first genuine family holiday in years. I had even taken a leave of absence and purchased new summer clothing. However, when my mother called to inform me that my grandmother was in the hospital, I immediately decided to cancel. When my phone buzzed with a notice that night, I was on my way to the hospital. Emma had shared something on social media. My heart stopped as I saw the picture of my whole family on the cruise liner, celebrating with champagne glasses lifted. The caption said, "Cruise life. Family time. Best vacation ever. So blessed to have such an amazing family." With trembling hands, I pulled over and gazed at the picture. On the ship's deck, my aunts, uncles, mom, dad, Emma, and everyone else were grinning widely. They had deceived me. They had used my dear grandma as a pretext to purposefully keep me out of the family trip. When I arrived at the hospital, I found no documentation of my grandmother's admission. When I called my parents, my calls ended up in voicemail. I received a social media ban within minutes of reading Emma's message. The treachery struck me physically, leaving me speechless. With my eyesight blurred by tears, I drove to my grandmother's house. I was shocked to see that her lights were on. She appeared to be in excellent condition and was a bit taken aback to find me in such a state when I knocked on her door. "What about Tara? What's the matter, dear?" Pulling me into a cozy embrace, Grandma requested. My eyes filled with new tears when I smelled her lavender perfume. The truth poured out while we were sitting in her comfortable living room. My world was broken by the vacation, the falsehoods, and the social media posts. I wiped at my eyes and murmured, "I don't understand. Why would they treat me like this? Why make up a story about being ill?" Grandma's expression turned gloomy with despair. Although my parents were different, she had always treated Emma and me equally. As a child in Indianapolis, I had seen them constantly give preference to my sister. They found the funds when Emma requested dance classes. I had to take out loans to cover my education expenses. During my visits to Grandma throughout the years, I recalled assisting her with groceries, taking her to doctor's appointments, or simply spending time with her while perusing old picture albums. Emma didn't come around much until she needed money. Normally, but in our parents' eyes, she was still the best child. "Your mother called me last week," Grandma said in a tense, frustrated voice. "She requested that I act as though I had been in the hospital if you happened to drop by." Of course, I didn't. I was unaware that they would carry out this plan. For a week-long Caribbean excursion, the cruise tickets had cost around $2 per passenger, so they weren't cheap. To pay for mine, I had been saving for months and taking on additional work at the accounting business where I was employed. I now questioned if they had always intended to keep me out or whether my ticket money had somehow paid for someone else's cabin. What hurts more than anything else? I looked at my hands while I spoke. Not that they needed a long-winded reason. All they had to do was say they didn't want me there. Instead, they took advantage of me. "Knowing how much I love you." Grandma's grasp on my hand was very firm. She replied wisely that sometimes people reveal themselves even when they think they're hiding it. The question is, how will you use that information? Something powerful and resolute was there in her eyes as I stared up at her. I was unaware that Grandma was closely monitoring our family dynamics and had her own agenda. I was sitting in my grandmother's living room when my phone buzzed once again. Unaware of my expulsion from the trip, my cousin Nina sent me a group SMS this time. She had intended to email vacation images to everyone in the family group chat. Unaware that I couldn't view them, I went through the pictures with a sinking heart. Emma was wearing the sundress that I had assisted her in choosing for the occasion. With drinks in hand, my folks are relaxing by the pool. The entire family, all dressed up and joking, came together for a formal supper. My mom's diamond necklace, which my grandmother had given her years ago and intended to be handed to both of her daughters on their 30th birthdays, was what drew my attention. Though, didn't she already give it to Emma? I showed Grandma the picture and asked her questions. I mean, even though I'm older, even if we were meant to share it? With a hardened gaze, Grandma moved forward to see the photograph. We've had that jewelry for 3 generations. She remarked softly. The jewelry that your great-grandmother had was divided equally among her daughters. For this reason, I sent it to your mom along with detailed instructions. Grandma's confession shocked me. No money from my parents had been used to pay for the voyage. She had handed them $15 to organize a family trip 2 months prior, making it clear that it was for all of us. Rather, they had upgraded their own accommodations and scheduled more trips using my share. With displeasure in her voice, Grandma went on, I've been watching. I've witnessed their differing treatment of you for years. I kept expecting that they would change and understand the consequences of their actions. This, however, is the last straw. After getting up, she went to her desk and took out a big envelope made of manila. You must know, but I wasn't planning to show you this just yet. Every instance in which they have abused your generosity, given preference to Emma, or spent money differently between the two of you has been documented by me. Bank statements, pictures, emails, and handwritten letters from years ago were all in the envelope. As I read through them, my hands began to shake. In stark black and white, the truth was exposed. I was not the only one who saw the trend of partiality. It had been purposeful, constant, and premeditated. But why? With the burden of years of denial and gaslighting weighing heavily on me, I muttered, why did they continually give me the impression that I was dreaming? I had never seen Grandma's eyes sparkle with such resolve. When people realize they're mistaken, they act accordingly. They attempt to cast doubt on you. Tara is no longer with us. No more. The duration of the family cruise was set at 7 days. The next morning, while I sat at my apartment in Indianapolis, working over Grandma's paperwork, Emma texted me, "You're spreading false information about us." Mom said, "Instead of attempting to wreck everything, why can't you simply be happy for once?" I was getting frustrated as I gazed at the message. Despite everything they had done, they were still attempting to paint me as the bad guy. Rather than answer Emma, I took a risk I had never taken before. I said it like it was on social media. I sent a picture of Emma's favorite vacation ever and said, "Funny how being lied to about my hospitalization just so my family could exclude me from a vacation somehow makes me the problem. It's even more hilarious that the money intended for me was used to pay for the cruise." My post received a ton of responses in a matter of minutes. Our longtime family friends acknowledged their surprise. Unaware of the whole situation, my relatives started sending me private messages in which they shared their own views of how I had been treated differently throughout the years. Then my dad phoned. Grandma's words replayed in my head. And I nearly didn't respond. "Don't back down. There is nothing wrong with you." His voice was stern as he said, "Take down that post immediately. This family is being embarrassed by you." "No, Father. When you falsely claimed that Grandma was ill, you shamed this family. You used her money, which was intended for all of us, to keep me out. It didn't happen that way." He said, "We needed a vacation from your incessant presence. You're continuous." "Dad, what's my constant? My consistent dependability? I am always there to provide assistance to Grandma. I continue to strive to blend in with this family, despite the way you treat me." There was a pause in the line. His voice had changed to one of menace when he spoke again. "You'll regret it if you don't remove that post and provide a public apology for your falsehoods. You're unaware of the stakes involved. Do you mean to threaten me? I'm alerting you. Over the years, your mother and I have shielded you from some things. Okay, if you're interested in playing this game, feel free, but keep in mind that you are not the only storyteller." When the phone ended, I was shaken. What had they kept me safe from? What tales may they share? I immediately contacted my grandmother. I told her they were attempting to frighten me. Dad claims that they have been shielding me from something. But he won't specify. Grandma was silent for a while. At last, she said, "Go to your email. Something is on its way to you. You need to know everything now." With my hands shaking a little, I opened my laptop and saw that this was more serious than a family vacation. Grandma's tone suggested that my parents were concerned about what I may find out. And whatever was in the email would alter everything. As I opened Grandma's email, my hands trembled. Scanning through Grandma's email, I discovered a 25-year-old trust agreement. The documents state that before he died, my maternal grandpa left a sizable inheritance that was to be evenly shared among all of his grandkids at their 30th birthday. The value of the trust exceeded $2 million. However, there was more. Over the years, a number of bank accounts revealed consistent withdrawals from the trust, including funds for Emma's dancing lessons, private school education, college tuition, and even her most recent wedding. It had all come from what should have been my portion. Grandma told me over the phone that they had been taking from you since you were 3 years old. Under the pretense that it would help you. Your mother persuaded her brother Michael, the trustee, to grant her early access to your share. I said in a hollow voice. But as you can see, they spent it all on Emma. The figures were astounding. Over the years, more than $500,000 had been embezzled from my trust fund. And I had worked several jobs to pay for college. At that moment, I received another email, this one from my Uncle Michael. I can't be silent any longer. Tara, what they did with the cruise money was the final point of contention. They have included documentation of every withdrawal they made from your trust. I'm so sorry. Years ago, I should have put an end to them. The attached data revealed a more sinister reality. My parents had been embezzling money for themselves in addition to spending my trust fund on Emma. The cruise was only the most recent manifestation of their continuous plan. How come you didn't inform me earlier? As I tried to comprehend the extent of the treachery, I questioned Grandma. I didn't realize how big of a problem it was until recently. She said, "Your mother promised to reimburse me for the entire amount when I challenged her about it last month. I then handed them the money for the cruise. Tara, it was a test. I hoped that they would finally act morally." I remarked sourly. "And they failed spectacularly." "Yes. But we've gotten just what we needed from their collapse. Evidence. Michael, your uncle, has consented to testify on their misuse of the trust. In addition to the cruise event and my documentation, we can file a lawsuit," I concluded, my amazement giving way to a wave of resolve. Grandma's voice was steely as she said, "Better than that. We can guarantee that they won't hurt you again. Look at my email's second attachment." I gasped as I clicked it open. It was the most recent version of Grandma's will. I now know that she left me the only heir to her inheritance, which includes a majority stake in the family business where my father served as CEO. Grandma sternly stated that they are going to learn that their actions have repercussions. Uncle Michael and I met at a cafe in downtown Indianapolis the following morning. Uncle Michael's hands trembled slightly as he handed me a large folder. And the dark circles under his eyes suggested that he hadn't slept well. Silently, he stated, "These are copies of every document and every transaction. The family lawyer has already received all of this information. Your folks, Tara, they will attempt to combat this. Since I wrote that email, they have already given me 6 calls. What do they say?" Among the overwhelming evidence of years of financial deception, I asked. "They claim to have acted in your best interests, preventing you from becoming overly wealthy prematurely." He gave a disgusted shake of his head. However, I unearthed additional information that they were not aware of. A second document he produced revealed a string of recent payments to an offshore account. "Tara, they intend to depart the nation. They have been transferring funds and getting ready for anything." The voyage served as a test run as well as a holiday. They wanted to see if there would be any suspicions about their passports. My blood froze. Are they going to run? Yes. They will use the remaining portion of your trust fund. Emma is also involved. To conceal the funds, she has been assisting them in opening accounts under her name. At that moment, my phone began to buzz. Emma had sent the SMS. "I am aware of your actions. You're attempting to destroy everything because you've always been envious of me. Guess what, though? It's too late. We'll be gone, and you'll be left with nothing by the time you figure it out. Uncle Michael's face went white as I handed him the text. They're traveling more quickly than I anticipated. We must take action immediately. I quickly gave Grandma a call. As though she had been waiting. She picked up the phone on the first ring. She stated without introduction that they were at the family business at the moment. Your dad is tidying up his workspace. I just got a call from security. Are they able to stop him? Better. I've already contacted the FBI Financial Crimes Division and the police. They will arrive soon. However, Tara, she hesitated. You must descend there. The dominant shareholder is now you. I filed the papers first thing this morning. My chair scraped the floor as I got to my feet. They're not aware of it yet. Are they? Number. Which gives us an edge. Arrive before any evidence is destroyed. Although Uncle Michael's records attest to the theft, there may be more going on. Another text message arrived, this time from my mother. As I hurried to my car. You will regret this. You ungrateful kid. After all that we have done for you. Despite their threats, I remained unfazed. In addition to having the truth on my side, I also had nothing left to lose. My parents were leaving my father's workplace with boxes as I got to the family business's headquarters. Emma, who was among them, looked around nervously. When they saw me get out of my automobile, they froze. Why are you here? In an attempt to keep his commanding CEO voice, my father made a demand. However, I could sense that he was afraid. I calmly said, funny, I was about to ask you the same thing. Especially since you're taking things out of my business without permission. Emma sneered. What are you talking about? Your company? I displayed the ownership documentation on my phone. This morning, Grandma gave me her controlling shares. Additionally, I'm quite interested in these boxes you're carrying since I'm the new majority shareholder. Are there any records of what you did with my trust fund in them? My mom's face became pale. Police cruisers with bright lights came into the parking lot behind them. I watched as FBI officers got out of unmarked cars. And Uncle Michael's automobile pulled up. Grandma sitting in the passenger seat. My mother begged, her voice trembling. You don't understand. This family was the driving force behind everything we did. No, I told her. Emma was the driving force behind all your actions. And now you want to take what's left of my money and flee. I looked at my sister. Emma, was the cruise enjoyable? Was it worthwhile? Emma broke down in tears. And the FBI agents came over. It was too late when my father attempted to yank her away. The reality had finally confronted them all. 3 months later, Grandma and I were enjoying our morning coffee in her garden in Indianapolis as we watched the fall foliage. The FBI's inquiry had turned up far more information than we had anticipated. My parents had embezzled from the business as well as from my trust money. They now had to deal with more shareholder legal actions and government prosecutions. Emma had struck a deal with the prosecution, giving immunity in return for testifying, finally compelled to live on her own without the financial assistance of our parents. She had relocated to Minnesota. Despite her lengthy apology in her final message, some wounds are too profound for mere words to heal. Your grandfather would be pleased with the way you handled everything. Grandma continued as she sipped her coffee. Money, he always argued, shows who people really are. I nodded as I considered the adjustments I had made to the business. We had developed a more open financial structure and started a scholarship program for workers' kids under my direction. The company was doing well since it was founded on honesty rather than dishonesty. I said, I never wanted any of this. All I wanted was fair treatment. Grandma clasped my hand as she reached over. Sometimes, life's greatest rewards can masquerade as its most challenging obstacles. You've turned their betrayal into something positive. She was correct. I had discovered my purpose, my power, and, above all, my value as a person. They went on that cruise without me? Though it wasn't the trip of a lifetime. It started my new life and ended theirs.